And welcome back, Market Day Report. Mark Oppold sitting in for Scott Shelladay. The cow guy is off for a few days this week with some family matters. Well, we're glad to be here and join the crew for this week and help out and get the information to you. Let's get started to go to that board and check what's going on in the corn trade right now. Not a lot of change in the last hour. Corn down 3 to 4. The May contract down 3 1/4, 4.32 1/4. New crop December down 3 3/4, 4.69 1/4, but up to high of 4.73 earlier in the day. This is kind of the case with all the corn, soybeans, and the wheat. Highs came early on here. May high for soybeans high 11.84 1/4. Now 11.78. That's down 3 1/2. November new crop, well, got up to 11.87 1/2. Now 11.81 3/4, down 2 1/2. So we're down 2 1/2 to 3 in the soybean trade overall. Wheat, even more of a decline. The May contract down over 7 cents now. Those of you tuning in rural radio, 5.58 1/2, and the new crop July down 7 1/4. 5.73 1/4. We check Kansas City, and those temperatures, Jeff, be reminding us, going to be hot out there. He used the word hot, and I agree. When you're talking about 80, 85 degree weather in early April, hard red in Kansas City trade down 10 near the lows of the day here. May 5.75, July 5.73 3/4, both down over 10 cents. And then to the northern belt, Minneapolis in the spring wheat trade down 6 to 8 cents. May down 6 1/2. 6.43 3/4. July new crop down 7 1/2, 6.51 1/2. Great for me to introduce and welcome Tommy Grisafi. First time that you and I have had a chance to visit. I watch you and Scott on the close here when you're in here talking the other side, but good to have you here in person.
Thank you, thank you. Don Wick wanted me to say hi to you. He goes, he's top shelf. The only thing I know top shelf is liquor, but I guess farm broadcasters could be there too. So big shout out to Don.
Don's a good guy, Hall of Famer here a few years ago.
Even if he wasn't, you wouldn't say it on live TV, right? Yeah, I watched that. Don got pretty tearful on that National Association Farm Broadcaster Hall of Fame. So I learned a lot from Mr. Wick. It's funny. Right before we went live, you go, how many days have you done this? And I'm like, first day, new to the show. Yeah. You're like, you're going to do the cow guy close? I'm like, let's do it.
Yeah, so, you'd be glad you'd be. You were a trader on the floor back in the days when I was a young farm broadcaster, when they actually had traders on the floor and runners and all the slips of paper, and quite a history you've had.
Yeah, thank you. I was a runner when I went to the Board of Trade on a high school field trip, never left. I don't know if that was good or not. My father always says it would have been cheaper to send me to Harvard. So,
wow, yeah.
I don't know.
Well, you also, I interrupt you, but you said you traded next to Scott's dad in your early days.
Yeah, I didn't know Scott very well. I knew his father, and yeah, great guy. He was a corn broker, long history. I mean, Scott's dad was actually involved in the in Cargill when if you ever heard the book, The Great Grain Robbery, you're familiar with that. And when Russia came over and bought all that grain. So his dad was just amazing.
Just getting started then. So what about this grain trade here? We see everything a bit lower here on the day. Tommy, anything you can draw from that, from your days on the trade floor?
Well, you want to sell rallies. Now, I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it's true. We're definitely showing signs, Mark, being in a bear market, and bear markets need to be sold, and it's hard to sell something that was higher a few days or a month ago. So we had a crop report a few weeks ago. We spiked up on that, and the bulls are like, this is the start of the next big thing. And then you look at today's prices and you go, that was the start of nothing. That should have been sold. And the American farmer paid another month's worth of interest on that crop. So you're old enough, and I'm old enough to remember these things called interest rates. Remember those little things?
My first house was 17% interest when I was starting out.
People need to know about that, because even though interest rates are operating only at 8 or 9%, we're not borrowing $100,000. We're borrowing millions of dollars. So you got to take that 8, 9% operating times millions, or they could have sold their grain and actually got 5% at the bank. And that's what we talk a lot about at Advanced Trading. And that's what we're going to talk about today on Cow Guy Close. We're going to figure out this interest rate thing as if we could figure it out here, but we're going to do our best.
We're going to make sure, or make them think that we have all the, you have some of the answers here, at least points to consider, which you've already done that, as far as, hey, you got to, if the market's down and it's going to be it's going lower, why hold on to it?
Right. They didn't just lose the 3 cents. They lost the 3 cents plus the opportunity to make that 5%. We need to take a pencil to this crop. One quick thing before we go to break, they're probably telling you to wrap. We're 150 days away from harvest. Think about that. 150 days away from harvest.
Yeah.
This crop's going to happen fast.
Well, it does. Always seems faster every year. All right, Tommy back with us. Here we are. We're going to take a break, come back and check the livestock trade as we move to the top of the hour. Be right back. Welcome back. Market Day Report here. Take a look at the livestock trade. And Tommy Grisafi with us. He'll be here at the Cowboy Close and taking over Scott. Be back next week. But the cattle trade here, we'll look at this together and talk about the old days again, maybe, but today is the day, and April cattle up $1.12, but June is more active, $1.32 higher, 174.65, but they've been over 175 earlier today. That's kind of the same in the feeder cattle trade as well. We look at that May contract, for example, 239.80. That was the high, not now. 239.80 right now, 239.10, barely holding on to that 239 area. That's still higher by $1.90, but obviously over $2 higher at one time. And then the lean hog complex, those of you watching this market, Bill Havertape talked about this market, watch out, and moving that it could be a little bit toppy here after reaching these new highs. May lean hogs now 98.55, up 67, and the June out there in the summer over 108, big difference, $90 in April, 108 in June, a little bit of a wider spread than normal, and June is up 27 points. You didn't trade lean hogs, but probably some of the same conversation as you look at the livestock trade and the grain trade, Tommy.
Yeah, I am a big supporter of bacon, though. I don't like to skip a meal for sure.
Amen.
You know, like you and I spoke off air, you'd get these quotes from the radio many years ago. The difference now is things are electronic. The pits are gone. Things are happening quickly. We see that price in hogs in the summer months, and we know it's an actionable level. We want to do something about it. Cattle, we're happy to see them up today. They had last week was a bad week for the cattle complex. They're slowly coming back. Volatility's compressed. I had an eye on some put options today. Volatility's coming in. The panic in cattle, hopefully, as we say in our industry, is calming down. So we'll see if that market can settle down. We still know that the supply and demand factor in that market is very tight. There's not nearly as many cattle as there were a few years ago.
It seems like fundamentally you could make a case for some really bullish numbers, but the numbers speak for themselves here. They've been higher, but again, that market might be a little toppy. I don't know. What do you think? Yeah,
well, fundamentally, we could have a bullish fundamentals, but that's no reason to go to the banker and say I went broke because the fundamentals were bullish, right? Someone enters an order that says sell 10,000 market because a headline came out last week, then things change at the speed of light.
You're going to hear more about that, I suppose, on the Cowboy Close?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're going to be doing that. Tommy will be taking care of that for Scott here on the day. So